Good afternoon, everyone. We are now live in wonderful low latency mode as well. Let me make sure that I've got the chat pop up here. Yep, there we go. Make sure that looks good. Clear that fake one out. Okay, we are ready to rock and roll. So, what we're going to do here today... first off, I guess I should say this. So on Tuesday, we did a live stream. It's just me here. And there's a dog over there. She was part of it as well. I did a live stream where I played Minecraft for like an hour and a half, and we just kind of chatted. Kind of as an experiment. I wanted to see how that would work, how that would go. Me trying to play a game so that when there was like dead air, I would have something to be doing, basically. And I think it went okay. I think it was all right. I had a hard time though. Like I think I need to pick a game that I can pause, or that I should pause to answer questions, because I have a hard time playing the game and then properly answering the questions. So learned a little bit from that experience. Today we're not going to play any games. We're just going to talk about some comments. Take comments from you guys. Oman, hello. How are you? And primarily, we're going to focus today on Surface Neo. So if you don't know, you haven't seen the video, I posted a video this morning that I actually recorded several days ago now, which I don't know if you should go watch it now. I guess stick with the live stream and then go watch the video later, I guess. And what I did in this video was I rewatched the announcement of Surface Neo with Panos Panay and so forth. And I just sort of live reacted to it. And it's doing way better than I thought it would. Like I thought you guys would kind of be into it, but like you guys have really been into it. I think I can show you this page, and I think there's no money on this yet, so we're good. Like you see, okay, so you see this gray portion here? This is the high and low end of where my videos usually track. And then this blue line is this video, the Neo video, me just reacting to the Neo announcement. So typical best case scenario was like 550 views in the first 5 hours. It's done nearly double that. So you guys are really into Surface Neo stuff, which is great. Mark from the Netherlands. From the Netherlands, Mark. That's a very far away here from Knoxville, Tennessee. So I figured, well, I was going to do this live stream anyway, so I figured, well, what better thing to do with this live stream than to go over some of these comments. So I'm going to be reading the comments here that have been left on that video and kind of responding to them here. Ed, good to see you here as well. Very reliable, just in time for that. That's great timing for lunch. And if you have other questions, comments, whatever you want to add in, drop them in. I'll be watching the chat here and popping them up on screen. But for now, is there a way for me to bring the chat over to picture-in-picture as well so that it's there, so that I'm going to put your comment back up. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Okay, so I'm just going to start here at the bottom of the oldest comments on that video. And we'll just talk them over. I mean, you guys all know what Surface Neo is, right? Like, this isn't something that I need to, like, remind you of. Surely not, if you're on this channel. Surface Neo. It's this thing, but bigger. Okay, so the first comment, Jeffrey Rapkin said, you should stop ruminating, Shane. You might hurt yourself. I love the word ruminate, and it's partially because of... this is a super obscure thing, but Norm Macdonald, he used to use the word ruminating a lot, and he had I forget what the setup was. He was setting up some joke, and he said he was ruminating, and then he said when he ruminated, he would whittle. So he would sit, ruminate, and whittle. And that, for some reason, is stuck in my mind, the idea of ruminating and whittling. So yeah, I was ruminating about Surface Neo. He said you might hurt yourself, and it is a risk that I indeed must take. Let's see here. A lot of people just saying they would buy the thing tomorrow. In fact, Mark, you echoed that same sentiment that you would buy the thing for sure. And I probably would too, as long as it wasn't like $2,500 or something crazy. Would definitely buy Neo as well. Savage Dragon says, I guarantee some variation of this will come out in the next few years. I don't know what information, what sort of intel you have Mr. Dragon. I would not go as far as to guarantee it. I hope that it's going to happen, but unfortunately, the last time we heard anything about Surface Neo, like chronologically in real world time, was nearly 1 year ago. So 1 year ago, Microsoft put out a little promotional video where they showed a bunch of Surface stuff, and Neo was in that video very briefly, but it was there. So as of 1 year ago, it was alive enough to put in a video. Some of you may say, oh, but it popped up in that movie Red Notice on Netflix. And that's true, but that movie was filmed back in that time frame as well. So about a year ago. After that, we've heard nothing. Mark says he'd buy it even if it was $2,500. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Brent Moore says this video provides proof that Microsoft needs to be an option. Did I say Microsoft? This video provides proof that Windows needs to be an option for the Duo hardware. I don't know that that's true. I don't know how you would. I don't know how that's accurate. There's nothing in the video, in the announcement. They showed a lot of cool stuff, right? You know, opening a link on your Outlook and opens on the other screen. That happens on Android. Flipping the keyboard up was pretty cool. The way it like took the two screens and put them all on one screen, like split window. That's pretty cool. But like all of this stuff is possible on Androids. I don't know that I agree with that. Sandra Payne, a long-term 10-month YouTube member. She's one of the longest tenured members on this channel. A real MVP. She says, it's too bad it didn't come out. I would have loved Neo to replace my aging Galaxy Tab S3. That S3 is aging. That is very true. Honestly, if it had Android, I would buy it. In some ways, I'd probably even prefer that simply for better touchscreen support than what is on Windows. That is a very interesting thing to think about and to talk about. Daniel Rubino wrote an article on Windows Central about saving Neo with Android. Hello from Portugal. It's so cool to me that there's so many people from all over the world that are watching my content and potentially watching it live here in East Tennessee. A lot of you probably don't even know what East Tennessee is or where it is. I certainly don't know where the cities in your countries are. So why would I expect any different? I would buy it right now. Let's talk about Android real quick, just to get this out of the way since it popped up. Android on Surface Neo. So I would say if you're gonna say Neo's either never gonna come out or it's gonna come out with Android, I put it on. If it's nothing or Android, then do Android for sure. Like literally, just do this but bigger. And I think that there's reason for people to buy it. Now I will say, you know, part of me wants to say like, well, but is it a different enough product at that point to be like, if you've got a Duo, would you need a Neo if they're both running Android? Like, you know, before when this was Android and Neo was 10X, they were a different enough product that you could kind of justify like owning both of them. But if they're both Android, would you need to own both of them? Would you be just targeting different consumers at that point? But then it's like, well, people own one of these and a Galaxy Tab, so like, you know, it doesn't seem to really make any sense in my mind. But you at any rate, you could just do that. Like, if they, you know, rework the internals, you know, put a Snapdragon processor in it, I mean, they could almost just put Surface Duo OS directly onto Neo and ship it, right? I mean, that seems to be like the easiest route to getting Neo on the market. And I think Daniel kind of outlines a really good, makes a really good case for this. Let me see here if I kind of want to pull out the article. If you haven't read it, you should, because he does a really good job of laying out the case for this. But it looks like it's been bumped off of their top banner, so I'm not going to take any more time to find it. But anywho, I think that's a really interesting way to go. So, you know, we need to talk about the fact that Neo was going to run Windows 10X, and 10X got canceled. So now Neo has no operating system. I mean, you can put Windows 11 on it, right? But you don't have the dual screen stuff in Windows 11 that was in Windows 10X. Now, could you take the dual screen stuff and bring it over to Windows 11? Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully that's something that they're working on, because, you know, we do know that a lot of companies are making folding PCs like we got here from Mr. McCurd. Shane, can you get your hands on the Lenovo X1? A lot of companies are making things like the Lenovo X1 that is a folding screen rather than a dual screen. I would say it's basically the Surface Neo in the same way that this is basically Surface Duo, and I think that they're different enough that they're different. Yeah. A Duo Neo laptop 4 and an updated Studio 2. It's a lot of Microsoft. And what would that cost you? $10,000, something like that. But yeah, I mean, they could bring a lot of 10X stuff is already in Windows 11. Could the dual screen stuff come? Yeah. And do I think that it probably is coming? Yeah, probably, because like I said, a lot of companies are making folding screens, and just like Android 12L is going to bring in these APIs and make folding Android devices better, they could do something similar. They're going to need to do something similar for Windows, because again, just like with Android, you put stock Android with no frills on a device like this, and it's not that good. You got to customize it to a larger screen like that. You would need to customize Windows to work on a folding screen, to be able to recognize when it's half up, to put a keyboard down there and do all this stuff. Well, Windows 11 could be Android 12L in a way. They could build some of this stuff in, and I think that they should. But when is that going to happen? We don't know. So we're going to keep rolling on some comments here, because I'll come back to these things as we get more comments here that lead me down that road. Man, I want the Neo keyboard for Duo. Yeah, I've seen I've seen people talk about this before, but it would be a very small keyboard. And I can actually demonstrate exactly how small of a keyboard it would be, because I bought something the other day that I was like, maybe I'll make a video about this, but it sucks really bad, so I'm not going to make a video about it. But give me like 30 seconds. I'm going to go grab something, and I'll show you what that would look like. So if you don't know, Surface Neo had this magnetic keyboard that you would literally put on the bottom screen and you could type with it. So I went looking online for tiny little Bluetooth keyboards, because I was like, I'm going to make a really dumb video about what that would be like with Surface Duo, if I can find something that is like an equivalent to it. I need to turn my Droid cam on so I can maybe show you this over the top. And I found something on Amazon, and I bought it, and it's terrible. And it's this. It's this little bitty Bluetooth keyboard, but the size of it is like the size of it is almost what we will be talking about here, right? So obviously with this, it's not magnetic, it doesn't stick. But like, here's my mindset. You're here, you're doing this. That's going to just be worse than just using the keyboard, the touch screen, right? Not to mention that this thing's plastic and cheap, and typing on it is really not good. But I mean, it would be interesting to see little accessories like that. Personally, I think if you want a keyboard for Surface Duo, you should just get something like this, which is like roughly the size of Duo. But then you can set Duo up and go, well, bam! And then you've got like a proper keyboard that's actually pretty nice to type on. I would much rather do that than have something like that tiny, crappy one that I had on there. But, you know, whatever. I get the idea, though. I get why you would think it, though. I don't see the need for two products, though. It's either Windows sideload and Android apps. Let's see. Can't they just dual boot? I think there's much more there that I want to touch. I was looking forward to Neo. Definitely me too. I think it's a better concept than the iPad. I think it's a more interesting concept than the iPad. You know, look, there's a million tablets out there. Why do we need more tablets? You know, just give me something different. And Duo's different, Neo's different. I think this was an interesting comment, if I'm remembering right. To be fair, Neo has had a slight concept flaw. It was supposed to run Windows 10X, which would do less than regular Windows. And given the price that Duo was, or has, the Neo would be even more expensive. I'm paying a lot of money then for not a lot of software features. I think 10X, I believe the lady said in that press conference that it was supposed to give you the full onslaught of Windows applications. I'm not 100% sure, but I think could Windows 10X not run exe files? Am I wrong about that? I feel like it could, but maybe I'm wrong. Neo Duo together could be a new that was the idea, you know. That was what Panos Panay truly thought, was that this was going to be a whole new thing. Honestly, I have no idea why they can't make an updated version of this with ARM or AMD and Windows 11. So let's talk about this for a second. Did they ever show the internals of Surface Neo? Did they ever show like a breakdown of it? Kind of. There's that one that was all broken apart. I guess we could click on this and look at this real quick. So when we're looking at Surface Neo, can I really not make that any bigger? Okay, let's go back. You can't really see the PCB in this anyways, though, can you? Yeah, this isn't really going to be all that useful. Okay, at any rate, let's go back to the comment. Why can't they make an updated version of this running ARM or AMD? When you're building like a gaming PC, you've got your motherboard. And, you know, like my system at one point ran an i5, I think it was like a 67 or 6600K. And at some point I was like, well, I need to upgrade to something faster. So I got a i7 9700K, which actually required me to change the motherboard because it was a new socket, but it's not really important. Theoretically, most of the time you can just pull out a CPU, put another compatible CPU and roll on, right? Not going to happen here. This thing was less than 6 millimeters thick. You can see here that it's got a big battery and a little battery, and it's got this coaxial cable going through all these tiny little cables to run data back and forth. There's board over here, there's board over there. There's a lot going on in this thing, okay? There's a lot going on. It's really hard to engineer something like that. Same thing goes for Duo. Really hard to engineer something like this. It's why it's expensive. You can't just swap out the CPU. You would have to rebuild. You have to re-engineer the entire thing, because what about the temperature concerns? What if that hybrid Intel CPU that they were going to use, what if the heat that it generated was totally different than the heat being generated by an ARM processor, let's say? Let's say it's way more than. Well, then maybe some of the stuff they were doing for heat dissipation could go away, and that can make room for bigger batteries. Like the idea that the board is going to be one-to-one the same on both is never going to happen. Things are going to be altered, and if you alter one thing a little bit, that alters something else, which alters something else. These things are jam-packed full. Like my PC over here, which you can't see, is massive, and there's a ton of empty space in there. There's no empty space in a Neo. So you move one thing, you move everything. So it's not as simple as just swapping out the CPU. You would literally have to, you're basically re-engineering the thing from the ground up. You're changing everything about it. And that's not easy. So, you know, could they do it? Absolutely, they could do it. And then could they take the dual screen stuff from 10X and put that in Windows 11? Absolutely, they could. 100% they could. The question is, will they? And I hope that we can come back around to the will they with another comment later, because I don't want to answer it now and then I have to answer it again later. But there are good reasons as far as the will they. Surface Pro is pretty much a failure as well. It's bizarre how far behind Microsoft was. Yeah. They're really bad at, gosh, I'm going to make people really angry. I'll say it like this. They're really bad at successfully selling mobile operating systems. That you can't possibly be mad at me for saying that, because that is factually true. I could see someone like Asus trying their hand at something like this down the road. Yeah. Yeah, they've made basically it's like a Surface Pro device, but it's for gaming. It does look pretty badass. They still are Apple's riding a dangerous wave, the amount of processing power, power efficient devices they're creating. Most definitely. How can we persuade Microsoft to produce Neo? It's going to come down to what they think the future holds and what they think that they need to do, and I will get into this in a minute. Why couldn't Microsoft pay AMD or Intel to build the damn chip? Oh, I mean, they definitely could. They definitely could. Again, it's just a matter of the rest of the hardware. You know, you're building a whole new thing at that point. As long as Apple neglects the gaming community, yeah, that leaves a niche for everybody else. Let's go back to more of the comments on the video. Let's see here. Microsoft concepts are amazing. The sad thing is they're unable to release products that they can envision. Yeah, they are really good at being like, look how cool this thing is we're going to make. It's going to be great. And then it either doesn't come out, or when it comes out, it's buggy and broken. Hosky here says, I think this class of Windows device needs power efficiency neither Intel or AMD can provide. ARM is there, you know. I mean, look at what they've done with the 10X. It's getting better, and the HCX, the new chips coming are going to be quite a bit faster. And look at what Apple's done. Clearly, ARM can be very good. So ARM makes sense to me. It's thin, heat dissipation won't be as big of an issue. Totally understand. I mean, that's to me that makes sense. Windows 11 is seemingly better and better with ARM, so I think that they can do that. This is also 100% true. They did work with Intel to build that hybrid processor, and the hybrid processor got canceled for similar, I believe, for similar reasons to why Windows 10X got canceled, namely the pandemic. Everything changed with the pandemic. Again, we're going to get into this. That was a painful replay. It was. Let's see here. Hey, I know these two. I know these two people. I've seen a lot of people that feel like this too, that if it ran Android, they wouldn't buy it. And a lot of people that still want Windows on their Duo, which, you know, I've talked about before. I don't really understand why you would want that, but, you know, it is what it is. Different strokes for different folks. I remember watching his presentation. Was bummed that never came. Yep, most definitely. Let's see here. Cost of Duo is too much for people. I wonder what the cost would be. Yeah, I mean, Neo was probably, well, I mean, Duo was $1,400-$1,500. Neo is easily going to be $2,000 or higher. I mean, that's just a foregone conclusion. What I don't get is the excitement of a dual display device. Okay. This is stuff I've kind of already covered. Okay, so we've kind of gotten through. Yeah, this was a good one too. How excited Panos seemed and how confident he seemed about what they were doing. Which, I mean, granted, he's not going to come out and say, well, you know, I think this is kind of cool. Maybe it'll be good. Like, he's going to be confident. But yeah, they were like, we're doing this, and we were announcing it early because we're so confident and all this stuff. But like, I really think the pandemic was a big problem, and I guess now is a good time to get into the stuff I keep saying I'm going to get into. So they were about to pioneer a brand new kind of thing, a brand new kind of computer, right? And, you know, you go back to like the first Surface Pro devices. It wasn't like the first Windows tablet, obviously, but like it was Microsoft doing it, and that was a big deal. And a lot of people at that time were like, oh, you know, like Windows tablets don't really make any sense. I'm sorry, I'm getting warm in here under this light. People were like, Windows, you know, tablets, convertibles, you know, what people didn't think much of it. But then, you know, the second one came out and it was a little bit better. And the third one came out and it was a little bit better and better and better and better. And now, I mean, if you're buying a convertible Windows device, you're probably going to be buying a Surface Pro device. They're the best on the market for stuff like that, right? So let's see here. They've pioneered these sorts of things before. And that's what they were planning on doing again with Neo. But then the pandemic hits. And people started buying more computers because they were working from home. And what they weren't going to buy working from home was a mobility-minded device. This was a terrible time to introduce a new product, in particular to introduce Neos. This is what I think happened. This is what, to me, I think is fairly obvious. So they put it on the back burner, and Windows 10X was an OS for this kind of device. And it just didn't make any sense to be doing this right now. They needed to double down on a desktop OS for traditional laptops, traditional tablets at even less than, and for desktops. And so that's what they did. And Neo got backburnered. And it, you know, from a strategic perspective, that was probably very much the right move. Laptop shipments went way up during the pandemic. And it is what it is. Um, will they come back to it as the pandemic slacks off? Will they come back to folding devices and dual screen devices? Perhaps, but it really was just, you know, you've got Intel making this hybrid processor to compete with ARM on these mobile kind of devices. The pandemic hits, that's less important to them. ARM is getting really good really fast, and I think Intel basically just said, we're not winning that race, and it's not important right now anyway. So they just stop, so it loses its processor. Then you've got Windows, Microsoft making 10X and making this device, and they say, oh man, we can't be focusing on 10X right now. We got to go all hands on deck on traditional computers because that's what people are demanding. So then 10X gets canceled as well. So then it loses its OS. I mean, what are you going to do at that point? You know, it just left it in a really horrible spot. Let's see, what do we got here in the comments? With all of their failed products and services, what would one more thing hurt for them to put out? I mean, yeah, I could definitely see that perspective. Microsoft is really, they're really conservative on stuff like this. Like, they really don't take big risks like that. Even though you and I would not see that as a big risk, it's like, you know, it's Microsoft. They have billions of dollars, but like, that's why they have billions of dollars, I guess. So I don't know. See here. Now that we can run Android apps for Windows 11, would this open the way for Windows 11 on Duo 3 or Duo 4? No, I don't think it would, because you got to think about it like this. Like, Android apps don't run well on Windows 11. Like, if you've got a really powerful computer, they run pretty well. But on an Android device, on an ARM processor, they're going to run okay, but on a Windows computer, x86 or whatever, running through a compatibility layer, you're going to lose a ton of performance. So I've seen people say this a lot, like, well, you run Windows 11 on your Duo, you're not going to lose your Android apps. Like, yeah, they're going to run, but they're not going to run well, you know, like, they're not going to be nearly as good. So I don't know. I think that things are going to have to get way more powerful in terms of these mobile devices before emulating Android apps is good enough to say, oh, it's just as good or it's close enough to having them natively. Got a super chat from Lyrically Outspoken. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Can we download Microsoft Edge extensions on Surface Duo 2 some way? Not that I'm aware of. There is a browser that can, though. It's not Edge, but it's another Chromium-based browser. Kiwi? Am I crazy? Somebody in the chat knows. Somebody in the chat knows which one I'm talking about. But Edge, unfortunately, no extensions. Luckily, the only extension I really want on mobile is an ad blocker, and it's already on there. I would probably I use Dark Reader, which puts everything into a dark mode. I would take that as well. But sadly, not yet. Although, maybe they will someday. They've really done a good job with Edge. They pushed a lot of stuff onto those browsers. It's interesting that people seem to inherently understand the benefit of having two separate monitors on the desktop, but their brain breaks when they see it down on the mobile. Yeah, I've said this a million times. People inherently understand two monitors on their desktop, but then on a phone they go, why would anybody want that? Like, well, isn't it the same reason as your desktop? I don't know. Like, what's confusing about that? Was there a threat to their desktop market within a mobile OS of their own? Microsoft's at the mercy of Google. Not like they're definitely not best friends forever. Yes, there was a threat to what they were doing, in particular with laptops, Chrome OS. Chrome OS sales went way up during the pandemic. Schools, people doing school from home, you better believe people were buying a lot of Chromebooks. They're making another version of Windows for that market currently. Like, that's something that they are competing very hotly for. A lot of people bought Chromebooks during the pandemic. So yeah, I think that constitutes a threat for sure. You think Microsoft will ever be able to get Neo to the market not in 2022? I would be shocked if it comes out in 2022. A good shocked, but I would be very shocked. Using a Google OS for their mobile future is the biggest risk Microsoft has made. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the video that I put out speculating about what went wrong between Google and Microsoft with Duo, where I kind of speculate about this kind of thing. About 3,000 people watched it, so I imagine some of you probably did. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of a risk, right? But the good news is that Microsoft really isn't, they don't seem to be working with Google on any of this stuff anymore. They seem to just kind of be doing it on their own. They're reorganizing to really concentrate on Android development now as well. So I think, the good news is Android is open source. So like, look at Huawei. Huawei can't interact with Google, but Android is open source, so they can still use it. They just have to kind of find some workarounds now. So even if like Google's not going to be like, you're not allowed to use Android on anything. Like they really won't, they can't really do much to them. And as long as Microsoft gets pretty good at Android, which they clearly are getting there, I think that they'll be okay. Never mind price. If they drop one tomorrow, I'll buy it, give it Android, and I'll run online Windows. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point too. Microsoft needs to focus on their software, and I'm not just talking about OS, apps, Xbox exclusive, etc. Since the Windows 8 days where they tried to redo the wheel with an ecosystem and failed, it has been a miss. They've definitely been up and down. I'll definitely give you that. Do you think even if Neo never makes it to market, Microsoft will revisit dual screen devices? I really don't know. Cause it's really going to come down to like, they had to hit the brakes on that so hard that it's just going to come down to, I really think it's going to come down to Panos Panay. Does he still want to do this or not? And if he does, then yeah, maybe it happens. Maybe they come back to it. But I think it's really going to come down to him and where he's at. It is really interesting though that Duo made it and Neo didn't. And I think it underscores what I'm talking about here. Phones didn't matter with the pandemic, right? There's no problem there. They didn't need to do anything with phones. Now you could argue that they didn't pay Duo a lot of attention to begin with. But the way that they went, oh, this Neo thing cannot be our focus right now. It's all hands on deck elsewhere. I mean, that's why. What other reason do we have that Neo never came out and Duo did? I mean, it just makes sense to me. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it a ton. Really do appreciate it. Have you happened to have seen images of Android 12L on a dual screen device? I don't know that anyone's gotten such a thing. I take that back. I believe it's been done. I'm trying to remember if I've seen this firsthand or not, but I'm almost positive that it's been done. But it's going to effectively look exactly like Android 12L on the Pixel 5 video that I put out, with it going across the seam in the middle, because it doesn't have Microsoft's customization to constantly be taking advantage of the dual screens. And I want to also point out that 12L is not going to do a ton for Surface Duo directly. Best case scenario, everything's going to look exactly the same, but it's just going to run better, because currently the launcher is the thing that is doing the automatic split screening effectively, right? Because as we've talked about before here, Android sees Surface Duo as one big continuous screen, and it is the launcher running on top of it that constantly splits it. Well, presumably that may be able to be done by the operating system now instead of the launcher, presumably. And that might make things run better. Where 12L is going to really help Duo is with the APIs. And we're already seeing this to some degree, right? Not that 12L is out, but we're seeing apps already begin to update to take better advantage of screen real estate on a tablet. So we talked about Sync for Reddit. And on a tablet, it takes a dual pane layout where you got Reddit threads, and then you click on one and you get the actual thread itself on the other side. They built that for a tablet just to make more sense on a tablet layout. But it just so happens that a dual pane layout works really well on Duo. And 12L is going to provide APIs for other apps to do this really, really easily. And that's what's going to make 12L big for Duo, is we're going to see a bunch of apps come out that are going to be good for tablets, dual pane, but accidentally good for Duo as well. That's pretty much what we're looking for here. I do love Microsoft and their vision. They just need to step up. They do. I'm really optimistic, though, maybe like naively, with this reorganization. They seem like they're really focusing on Android now in a good way, and I think that that's really cool. Let's see here. It's also probably easier to optimize Duo or optimize Android for the Duo than 2 giant tablet screens. Yeah, there may be a bit of a difference there. Let's see here. It's directly targeting that tablet market, but like I said, and as you just said here, yeah, there you go. No need to restate it again. It's going to help Duo almost by accident. It just like Sync for Reddit. Sync for Reddit did not get dual screen device. It got tablet support, but it works well on a dual screen device too. It just so happens that works out well. That's going to happen a lot with Duo. How long have I been live here? Do I have any way to know such a thing? 38 minutes. We'll go for a little bit longer. What else do we have here? I don't think I've gotten any more comments on the Neo video. No, I think we're pretty much done there. I can't believe the views on that video. It's kind of hilarious. Very much appreciative of that though. What do you guys think of the live stream thing? So for those that don't know, and I guess I really haven't talked about this directly on the stream, for the last like maybe year, I've been working like a part-time job where I've been working like, I don't know, like maybe 16, 18 hours a week, like not very much at all. Partially because I have an old dog with health problems, so I have to be home to keep her routine going. But partially because I want to do this full time, and I post a bunch of videos, and I'm constantly interacting on Twitter and comments and reading articles and trying to keep abreast of situations. But at any rate, I recently have quit that job because it's really annoying. It was beginning to cut into this a lot. We'd gotten really shorthanded, so I was basically, any day that I worked, I came home with not enough energy to make a video, so then I'd have to make like 2 videos the next day, and it just was a problem. So I want to take that extra time I have, and I want to start doing more things, right? Like I'm obviously not gonna like reduce the amount of videos that I'm making. I've got a little bit more time, so I was like, I'll do some live streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll live stream. But I want to know what you guys think about this kind of format. Like I don't know that twice a week, every week, I'm going to have something to live stream about. So like I'm worried I'm going to get in here and then I'm not going to have anybody in the chat at all. And I'm just going to be sitting here vamping, which is why I tried out gaming too. So I could game, and then when there's comments, I could talk. When there's no comments, I can just game for a while. So I kind of want feedback on that kind of stuff as well. I'm enjoying the streams, and that it was fun having the Minecraft stream while I worked. Appreciate that. It's good feedback. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm if I can find games that are kind of like not super like mentally exhausting for me, that I can like be reading, and I need to get a better layout here where I can play and see the comments easier, because OBS wants to put the comments all the way over here, and I have to like, I know that sounds silly, but I was missing comments because I got to look way over to the side. So I need to get kind of a better setup here to to be able to kind of do it a bit better. But if you guys enjoy it, then I want to keep doing it. I do find streaming to be a little bit more tiring, like mentally, than just making a video. For whatever reason. I mean, they go longer, so I guess that makes sense. I don't usually film for an hour to put out a 10-minute video, so that probably just makes sense. But if it's enjoyable to you guys, then I do intend on continuing to do that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's really helpful because I forget things. For those that don't know, there is another YouTube channel which I've not posted on in like a couple of months. It's called After Hours, and if you search After Hours, Scary If Literal, that will pop up, and it is a conversational podcast channel with me, my wife, and a couple of friends. We talk about random stuff. We put out 4 videos about 4 months ago, and it was sort of a test run, and I think it went well. My plan is to start bringing those videos back very, very soon, because again, I have more free time. That was part of my plan, 2 streams a week, and then try and do an After Hours video maybe every other Saturday, something like that, and then get those out. So thank you for bringing that up. That will be coming back. Please do go subscribe to that channel. It's only got like 51 subscribers, but fair enough. I barely posted on it. So can I put this in the chat? Go subscribe to that. We got a super chat here again. Oh man, thank you so much. That's a big super chat. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Very, very nice. I'm Truly enjoy your content, live or videos. I've said it before, you're unbiased and refreshing. Thank you. You have your own opinions, but you don't criticize. I really appreciate that too. I get a lot of really weird comments from people that sometimes think I'm like bashing other people for having different opinions. I'm going to put the super chat back up here just because it was a big one and I just want your name on there longer, I guess, as a thank you, because that was very, very nice of you. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes maybe I don't communicate well, but people get mad at me because they think I'm like shutting other people down, and I'm like, no, we're just talking. Like, I'm open to all sorts of different opinions and so forth. I think the after hours chats are fun too. They are very weird. It's kind of like if you want a glimpse behind the curtain, like here's me being professional and talking about tech. After hours is called after hours because it is not professional at all. It is weird. It is stupid. It is juvenile, but sometimes thought provoking. That's the idea. I'll tell you here in a moment what the inspiration for After Hours was. Hello from the UK. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Glad you finally made it in for one. That's very cool. So, do you guys remember, did you ever watch that 70s show? Probably. So they'd always sit around in the circle, right? And they would smoke the devil's lettuce, as it were. And then they would have these dumb conversations, right? So probably like 6 or 8 years ago, maybe, I had this idea because I love like philosophy and I love ruminating on stuff like that, like deeper subjects, right? I really enjoy that kind of stuff. So I had this idea for it was gonna be a podcast, and I was gonna call it Stoned Philosophy. The concept was going to be the video that me and some friends, and unfortunately this is not something that I do almost ever now. It's been a long time actually, but in my younger years I would partake in that sort of thing, and then the idea would be that we would partake in that sort of thing and then we would film ourselves or record ourselves having philosophical conversations. And so that was kind of the impetus for this idea. Now, granted, these videos, I am not, none of us are inebriated in these videos because we're all generally older and we just don't do that kind of thing anymore. Nothing against it in particular, but I digress. But I wrote down all these topics of like things I would want to talk about on this thing. And thank you. Lots of great growth. We are getting so close to 10,000 subscribers. We're so close. We're at 9404 right now. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Come on, let's get to 10,000. But I had all of these topics, things that I wanted to talk about. And they just sat, they just sat for years and years and years. And finally it was like, okay, we're going to try this. So like some of the topics were like really silly. It was like, or sometimes like not silly, like, okay, does free will exist? Is morality objective? What is beauty? What is the meaning of life for animals? Where's the line between art and not art? Just things like that I love the idea of even now, I mean, having a drink with your buddies and being like, hey, what's art? And just talking it out and letting the conversation go wherever it is that it wants to go and just having a fun time. So if that sounds interesting to you, hit the subscribe button on the After Hours channel, and hopefully I plan on this Saturday we're going to try to film one. I hope I can get some more people in on it. I got my other two buddies. One is on his honeymoon. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, on your recent nuptials. And then of course my other buddy, depending on if he's working or not too, so we'll see. Exactly, but we're just going to film him and put him out there. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for stopping by. Always glad to see you here. We'll see you on the next one, I'm sure. So yeah, those are kind of my plans with my no longer working in my little side job that was designed to get me out of the house and get me moving around and so forth. That was kind of the point of it. So we're going to do those things instead now. So I guess we're kind of running to the end of this. If anybody else has anything else they want to say, want to talk about, want to ask about, we'll be more than happy to try and answer a few more questions here. I do want to say, I had somebody the other day remind me of this. The month of April is still Autism Acceptance Month. So I would encourage you all to maybe go watch a TED Talk from someone with autism, Asperger's, whatever you want to call it, and maybe learn a little bit if you don't know about it. Learn some of the misconceptions that go around, and it's a good, is it a cause? I guess it's a cause. It's not really like a charity, right? Like there's nowhere to, I'm not telling you to put money anywhere, but just something, a good thing to think about for this month. A lot of misconceptions about it. Well, guys, I guess we're kind of to the end here. So I'm gonna wrap things up. Thanks so much for stopping by. The super chats were awesome. You guys have no idea how much that helps me. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, sir. Like for real, like if you watch one of my videos, like if you watch every video I put out for a week versus doing a $2 super chat, that $2 super chat is more. like it's such a small amount of money. I have to get so many views to make $2. Thank you for stopping by watching. I really do appreciate it. So like I said, those super chats are fantastic. And that, I mean, just what we got here, that pays for some groceries. So very much appreciated. All right, well, we'll see you on the next one. More content will remain coming. I think tomorrow's video probably, I'm going to talk about the possibility of OnePlus bringing the Oppo Find N to America. I've got some information I'm going to kind of break down for that one. And then we'll see you back on Monday for the for more of the normal content. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.